Hey, crew members, wanted to let everybody know there's quite a bit of this speech that I had to edit out and certain aspects of this video that are going to be bleeped out. Thanks for watching.
So you get all your questions you all want to ask. This last bit I did 12 and a half years. This was my second federal bit that I did. I did one back in the 90s, and I did a little state time. I've been in the system since I was 11 years old. There's only like 3 years in my 20s when I was off paper. Other than that, the system's had me since I was 11. I was a fuck up. There's no other way to put it. And so it wasn't until this bit when everything just registered and everything made sense to me. Because I had kids that I never seen, and the ones that I did get to see was for real short periods. Because I was running with a club, or I was locked up, but I just wasn't around. But it was this last stint at Leavenworth that just, I don't know, my life finally came into focus and everything just made sense to me. And so, of course, my wife, that was my big support group since I've been home. And then just real quick, my wife records all these. She won't put you on or nothing like that. So if you're afraid you don't want to be on the camera, she's going to keep it right on me. So that's my story combined. I just really want to get to everybody's questions because last year we ran out of time. You can ask me anything.
What was your first crime at 11?
At 11, I stole a car. Stole a car, it ran out of gas, and then we set it on fire. I don't know why, it's just what we did. It was an old Safeway parking lot, right across the street from my school.
That was the last one that you did, that you were in prison for, the last crime you did?
Bank robbery. Armed bank robbers.
And just so you guys know, I supervise Mike, and he's done a phenomenal job. This is his second federal case. So, he's turned his life around 100%. You know, and I'll let you talk about that, but, you know, he's got a great job. He supports his family. He's got his wife there to support him. He's got his children. He, you know, pays restitution. He files his taxes. He's a law abiding citizen. So, you know, I really commend Mike because he's come a long way.
But on the flip side, I probably would have done this with no other parole officer except Shelley. My ones in the past, it's not that we didn't get along. One, I was a lot younger then, and I just had a bad attitude. You know, when I came home this time, I didn't have a bad attitude. I just had a people problem, just dealing with regular people, citizens of the community. I was just used to live my life one way. And so, you know, I'll never forget, I remember I blew up a Shelley one time, and it was just, I look back on it, it was wrong. I think I called her that night and apologized. It was just, I got caught in the heat of a moment. It was a misunderstanding, and I went back to that old self. You know, thinking I can just talk to anybody however I want. And that's not how it is. And then I've had my days where I've called her and said, hey, I need a vent session. And this was in my first few years out. I'd go down and she'd just let me give it to her for an hour, and I just, but when I left, I was good. It was, you know, it could be anything. But my biggest problem, and it still is really today, is just the way society changed. I come from a background where respect is everything. And it wasn't just a prison thing, it's how I was raised. And so I wasn't used to how a lot of people treat each other and talk to each other and just the way the world is today. So I still have my days where but it's not like it was in the beginning. But she's the one who got me doing this. She's the one who opened the door for this. And I've been having fun with it. So you won't find many guys that give their POs props. But I definitely give her hers.
Did you have a hard time finding employment considering your criminal history?
See, I didn't because I was fortunate because I had my skill set before I went into prison. And so when I came home, of course, when I'm in the halfway house, I had to work at a temp service. I didn't have to. I didn't have my tools and everything that I had before. I'm a heavy equipment mechanic. That's what I do. And so I already had my skill set before I went in. And so I did day labor, but once I got home, was able to get myself in a position to start buying tools and whatnot, that's when I just moved up. And I jumped around a lot because I knew where I was before I got busted. Because I always worked. It's kind of corny. I mean, I did what I did, but I always worked. It's just because I loved what I did. I know it's a weird combination, but that's what it was. And so I was determined to get back on top. I didn't think I would make it to where I am now in such a short time. You know, when I come home, I mean, I started at $8.43 an hour. This is just 5 years ago. And so it's not a lot of money. And so I kept going out, and I jumped jobs a lot. Kind of made her nervous. Even Shelly one time says, don't you think you need to settle somewhere? But it doesn't always work. That can backfire if you jump jobs. And some of my partners that I've come home, I've told them, it's a case-by-case situation. I knew what I was doing. I knew where I had to get each time to get up a little bit more, and it worked for me. So, but I have a lot of partners that come home don't have no skills. You know, you can learn some trades in federal prison, but really most of them come home, don't have any. You know, they were slinging dope, or they just whatever their hustle was. You know, I have a good friend that come home. I'm not saying working in the kitchen or cooking is a bad thing, because it's not. But that's the only experience he had. Very smart man. But he just got done doing a little over 15 when he come home. He was having a hard time adjusting. You know, and his mind started wandering, because he's an older man and he was worried about what is he gonna do. So I just tried to keep my claws in him. And I was just talking to him, telling him, listen, you know, look where you were and look where you're at. So I was fortunate to get him a job where I work. And now he's making more money than he's probably ever has. But he's doing real good. It's just a lot of guys just need direction. You know, it's hard to come out and you end up in a labor service for $8 an hour. It's tough. Yeah, you're making more than you were when you were locked up. I was tickled to make $8.43. You know, I wasn't complaining. But it can be tough. But like I said, I was one of the fortunate ones. I already had my skill set.
How did you develop that since you were like in the system for so long?
Develop.
Like your skill set? Where were you
Oh.
able to learn all
I started wrenching when I was just young. It's just, especially with heavy equipment, just really anything, engine or hydraulics, it's just always made sense to me. And so I just, you know, coming home this time, I was behind on the times, because even those 12 and a half years, so much changes. Even if it's just a car or computers, anything, everything changes so much year to year. So I was a little bit behind on a lot of the technology, because a lot of it's computerized now, sensors. That's not how it was when I was out. But it's just something you never lose. It's like riding a bike, you know. But I was fortunate at a young age, wrenching with my dad, my granddad, just already had that skill set. So that's where I was fortunate.
What was, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Noah.
What type of household did you grow up in?
You know, my mom drank a lot. She was married 5 times. And it was her 5th husband. He was a good one, because that's who I look as my dad. My adoptive dad split when I was real young. I met him a few years back. You know, I had a lot of hate towards him because of the things my mom told me. But, you know, I see a lot of it now. You can tell a kid anything, and I believed it. I mean, still he's no angel because he split. But I get it. I have more of an understanding now of why and what the situation was back then. You know, it was just really me and my mom for a long time, because even when she was home, she was passed out. It's just what it was. But I really hung on to my uncles, and they're the ones who they rode. And I knew at an early age what I wanted to do. I just did. I usually don't talk about it, but my wife's become pretty good with editing. Last year I couldn't touch on this, and a lot of people wanted to know. And so the first time I was ever around one, I'll never forget, I was 8 years old. And I will never forget meeting him, and I just know how that affected me. Because I remember looking at him, seeing him, and I just knew what power he brought walking into my parents' bar. And I was just attracted to that. It was just, I never felt nothing like it. And so I followed some of my uncles around, and they just, you know, they did what they did. And I was there. I mean, I was 12 years old, doing some pretty bad things with them. But, you know, to me it was normal. Do I think it really fucked my head up? No, I don't. It made me make a lot of bad choices in my life, but it's not that I sit here and I don't fight no demons today for what I seen them do and what happened. I just learned from it. But I had no supervision. I didn't go to school. We drove around one day and we started passing all these schools I went to. And it started really 5th grade. It was like 6 elementaries, like 9 junior highs, like 6 high schools, and because we were moving a lot, or I was getting kicked out, suspended, and school just really never worked out for me. But it wasn't violent. I mean, my adoptive dad used to crack me and my sister pretty good, but once he left, there was just no supervision. That's all it was.
What was prison like for you?
In the early days, prison didn't affect me like it should have, like it would affect most. Again, when I was 12 and 13, I went through Scared Straight, but this is when Scared Straight was Scared Straight. And it's not like today. Today, I think it's kind of a joke. Back then, they could grab a little smart-ass mouth kid by the throat and bang him up against the wall. You're not gonna hurt him, but man, that's what worked. Nowadays, it's all gentle now. So it really lost its appeal. But I remember at that age, it didn't affect me like that. I didn't go in with a cocky attitude. I just went in, I took it in, and all I really seen was another way of life on the other side of a wall. That was it. It didn't scare me. I didn't sit there and say, yeah, I want to do this. It didn't affect me like that. My first time in juvie, I was scared that first night because I remember, again, they put me in with a kid who tried to kill his family. And so at that time I really wasn't even in there for the car yet. I was in there for being a runaway. But I remember thinking, why am I locked up with this guy? Because he was a nut. We weren't allowed to have shoes or anything with strings or nothing. And so that was my first taste of it. But it just never scared me like that. Prison or jail, it was just a way of life. It was another way of living, And again, it wasn't until this last bit, it wasn't until I was about 5 years from the door when I don't remember the date or the day, but I remember the moment. I was sitting in my cell, it was around noon, and I don't know what happened, but everything just hit me. Everything and the way I was living it all just hit me, and I was basically said, what the fuck am I doing? You know what I mean? I was 40. I was 39 going on 40, and I'm still being stupid. And so that's when I started getting my shit together. I started teaching the GED class, I did the parenting class. Just started doing as many programs as I could. Because like Shelley said, the feds will not come to you and say, here, do this. They'll make you work at certain prisons, but like in Leavenworth, it was so overcrowded, you didn't have to work. That's why a lot of guys like going there, because you don't have to work. But most prisons, you have to work. You want to get a job, or they're going to find you a job, and it's not going to be fun. But I just programming is what they call it, and they had programs where you could get a year off and do this. I wasn't about that because I wasn't down for the program. I could have lied and bullshitted my way through it just to get a year off, but it's just not me. I had my time, I accepted it, and I was going to do it. But they have programs in there that you can benefit from, but it's tough to get guys to do it. Because 90%, probably 95% of them think it's not going to do shit for me when I get out. And they're already thinking, if they're young, they're just thinking about getting back in the game, And that's how it was my first bid. My first bid didn't affect me, not even a little bit, not even a tiny bit. It just, okay, here I am. I got out, I did my paper. I wasn't even off. I don't even think I made it 3 years. I was back in. So.
How long did you say you were in the first time?
First time was just 5, and that was state and fed. And then my juvie sentences were like a year. And then my times in and out of counties, wow. I can name every county I've been in. And certain times I was there, but there's probably times I've literally forgotten. Because it just became the norm. I was in and out every other month. I'd either post bond, they wouldn't give me a bond, I'd do the time served, and That's just the way I got used to living.
So do you think some federal inmates don't fully understand what the program is supposed to do, or do you?
They understand, they just don't believe in it.
Yeah.
Most of them go in there thinking that's all they're ever gonna do. You know, it doesn't matter your background, whether you come from the ghetto, you come from the, you know, the vanilla side, doesn't matter where you come from. I'm just being honest, you know, and it's just, it doesn't matter. Most of them don't think they have a choice. And like I said, most have never worked. So to go in, even if they're only doing a 2 to 5 year sentence, they think, you know, what am I gonna go wash the dishes? Am I gonna go work on a dock? Am I gonna load trucks? Why not? It's better than sitting in a box, but it's hard to reach some of these guys. You know, when I taught the parenting class, it was rough with these guys because I'm real straightforward and I'm real brutal with it. You know, you get a lot of guys in there who they honestly believe they were doing the right thing as a parent, because they'll say, man, hey, I was giving my kid money, I made sure the mom had money, made sure they had all this, but that don't mean shit. And that's what I used to tell them. You know, and I said, you can give your kids all the money they want. I said, but they don't have you. But a lot of them will not see that. And I used to tell them, I said, until you can admit to yourself that your lifestyle and your partners were more important than your kids, you're never gonna get it. None of them can ever admit that. You know, and I've always been honest with my kids. I can remember the first time my kids asked me that. They asked why I did what I did, and I said, because my lifestyle is more important than you. That's a hard thing to tell your kids, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That was my mindset back then. You know, I always assumed, man, they're fine, you know, they're with their mom, they got a place to live, they got food. Why not? And that's just a fucked up way of thinking. But it's hard to get people to see that, especially the young ones. Because I didn't want to hear or listen to anybody when I was in my 20s. You couldn't tell me nothing. I would sit in the prison watching guys like me come in, and I'd be like, and I would pick someone like me and think, well, fuck you, you already had skills, man, you're different, you don't count. You know, you didn't come from my neighborhood, and that's how I would look at them. And it's just, they're hard to reach. And really all we can do is just try to plant a seed, and hopefully down the road it, you know, it sprouts out and they get what I said that day, or anybody.
Are you, did you grow up in Colorado, or did you just?
Born and raised.
Born and raised, where at?
North side.
Okay.
Do I associate with them?
Did you when you were in prison?
Yeah, the way it is in there, I mean, the state's kind of similar, but I haven't been in the States since the 90s. All my stuff has always been federal. You got to understand the feds, you have people from not just all over the United States, but from all over the country. You got people from all over in the federal system. But I knew I hated them. And so when I got to the feds, I seen how it worked, and it was one of my buddies from Dago. He's the one who said, look, this is how we roll in here. We're a smaller number. And so, you know, I fought it for a while, but I finally gave in. I got to know these guys, and they were just like me. You know, the clubs would be a great thing if you get, you know, over all the death and all the nonsense. Really with anything. I'm all for having your own club and riding, but all the killing and stuff is just, what for? We sit here, we do all this time for what? You know what I mean? It's just, they all have the same frame of mind. They just want to just ride and be free, that's it. And so I accepted it, and there's a couple I write letters to because they're just, man, they're really good dudes. You know, they looked out for me in there. And so that's how it is in the feds. You just kind of band together. The first time I ever called home, I did, it was around Christmas, and you'll never believe who I'm sitting with this Christmas. Because, you know, everybody grew up me hearing, you know, and I've got every one of them at my table. And then, you know, and I said, it's just what it is. And they said, well, man, how do you do that? And I said, because they're my bros, man. They're just bros, man, that's it. But that's how it is in the feds. I believe the state is pretty similar, but state and fed is like day and night. Because the politics in the feds is way stupid. It is. It's stupid, the politics you gotta live by in there. And just, again, like I said, you got so many people from all over the country trying to put down what they think this is how we should run this prison. So it's ridiculous, is what it is.
Do you have an example of that?
For the politics? Okay, me and this guy. Just, okay, you know, he could be from the north side just the same as me. But, okay, he looks white. He could have been my best friend from kindergarten. But now when I get to the feds, my political stance, the white boys are gonna come in and snatch them up. And it's not gonna be riding with Colorado, it's gonna be riding with your crew from the north side. Whether you even knew those guys or not, you're from the same neighborhood. Okay, you and I have a history together, okay? But I'm a mixed breed. I don't belong with you. And so now that friendship we had is nothing. That's how retarded politics is. And that's what it is in there. It's broken down into states, then your neighborhood, and then your sets, and that's how they do it. I mean, I knew guys in there who were cousins, and they had to ride on separate sides of the prison. Now that's your own blood right there. How do you do that? But that's just how it is in there. And then you either roll with it, or they're just gonna roll you up and they're gonna send you on. And I'm being honest, but once that happens, you're gonna have a hard time landing in any other joint because that's gonna follow you. You know, you might hit the yard for a minute and tell them where you're from, but there's always someone from another spot. It's just a lot of people try to hide in the system, but it'll follow you there, and then they're gonna pull you up and say, man, did they check you in over there at so-and-so? You're gonna say, yeah, now you're done again, because it follows you everywhere. It's a ridiculous pattern.
Thank you.
Yep. The way I did mine though, I didn't really buck the system. I got along with everybody. Everybody. I broke bread with the people that I want to break bread with. You know, and again, my partner from Dago used to point at me and say, man, why do you do that? I said, why do I do it? He said, man, you throw it in everybody's face. I said, I don't throw it in nobody's face. Because I have a good partner, and his name's Willie G. He's been in Leavenworth almost 30 years. He's a black dude, and he's a kick-ass dude. Man, he was a good cook, and I used to tell him all the time, man, let's cook. And so every time he would bring me my food, I would always tell him, go put it in my cell. And he would always go, why do you do this to me? I said, because I wanted everybody to see it. And then, of course, you know, and everybody's sitting there watching TV, everybody just stops. And they want to stare at him, walk into my cell, put my food down and leave. But yet no one wants to say anything. Because that's one way I've always carried myself. I'm gonna pick and choose who I roll with. Yeah, when a riot breaks out, it is what it is, because we had one day. And I went and pulled up Willie. And he's one of my good friends, and it was a racial one. And I told him, I said, man, I want to go to heads with you, dog. And he didn't want to go to heads with me, so we made a deal, and I said, you go to that side. I said, I'm gonna stay on this side. And that's how we did it, so we didn't have to come face to face, because when something like that breaks out, you have to jump in, or your own people are gonna get you. That's why you're sucked into it. You know, you get guys in there, all they want to do is their time. They're not bothering nobody, they're not gambling, they're not doing drugs. All they want to do is their time and go home. But you get these little cliques in there, they see them, and if you even show a sign of weakness, they're gonna suck you in, and now you're clicked up, and now they're gonna put you on some retarded mission, try to go beat this guy up, and your luck, it's gonna go south, and the guy's gonna end up dying, because that happened 3 months before I left. Now you got a life sentence. And do I really think, not you, but you deserve that? I don't, but you were sucked in. You know, you got 50, these guys standing there and say, look, man, we're gonna kick your teeth in if you don't do this. Most people are gonna, all right, man, I'll do that. That's how it happens. It's ridiculous.
How was it trying to reconnect with your kids after being so long?
I was pretty fortunate. My ex-wife, you know, I got to see my little girl and got to ride her, got to speak to her, and my wife had a hand in that too. And so I was able to always be able to reach them, whether it was on the phone or through letters, which is still not a lot, but it's all we got. Coming home, they were just ready for it. I have an older daughter. She's on the run right now. You know, I got to see her for a little bit when I come home. But it seems like every bad part of me went into her, because she's like a mini me, except she's on the dope. That's her demon that she battles. And so, but I got to connect with her when she came home. She was in the halfway house when I came home. And she was doing so good, because she's a very beautiful girl. She's very smart. She's got that demon, and she just can't let it go. And so now she's on the run. My other kids, I was blessed because, you know, moms kept them in line. And so when I've talked to my kids about it, telling them, you know, there's gonna come a time where you're gonna wanna sit down with me and say, you know what, man, fuck you, Dad, you weren't there. Because I got that coming. But none of my kids have ever done that, and I've tried to tell them, look, man, I know what I did, I know it sucks. I know how it felt when my dad split. You know, but like my 19-year-old, Danielle, she's like me in the sense of, you're my dad, I know who and what you were, and it's cool. That's kind of how I looked at my mom. 'Cause, you know, my mom wasn't a good mom, but she was still my mom. You know, I never really hated her. That was just our life, you know, because your parents are your parents. So I was just fortunate. Now I have all my kids, and we had another little girl when I came home, and it was just, I got lucky because I had a good support system outside of there. You'll get a lot of parents that, okay, they don't want their child talking to whether it's your mom or dad that are locked up, regardless of what crime they did. And that's pretty normal. You know, it's easy for you to sit there and say, look, man, your mom and your dad, look, they're drunk, they're criminal, they're always in prison, you know, you have no reason to know them. And so, but that's normal. I'm not saying it's right, but it's normal. But I was fortunate. My family kept my kids close to them, which in turn kept me in good contact with them. So I was blessed in that aspect of it.
Would you say the hardest transition was this next time getting out, like?
The hardest transition?
Yeah, like the hardest part about transition back to the community, what would you say like was the hardest part about it? Or
People.
like, did you have any difficulties?
People.
People? Just
Yeah.
mainly people?
Just people, you know, in our home, respect is huge. I preach it like no other, because I believe that's all we have. You know, and the littlest things would just fucking spin me out there. I could be as simple as having a conversation with you, whether it's right here or on a sidewalk, and if I'm talking to you, and if you just looked over here and said something to someone, man, I'm ready to blow. Because I'm like, wow, man, he just looked away from me. Because when I'm talking to someone, obviously here I'm trying to work the room, but I'm trying to me, that's what life is about. You know, anytime someone gives someone else some of their time, that's a pretty big thing. That's how I look at it. I'm giving you a part of my day, and in turn, you're giving me a part of yours. And so if you're speaking to me, I'm talking to you. You know, I'm not gonna let anything outside that come in here. Now, a lot of that is because how I was raised. You ever walked up to anybody, especially if, and I don't know if it's with all clubs, someone's in a circle and guys are talking, man, you don't go up to that circle and say, hey, excuse me, man, you don't do that. It's gonna be a bad day if you do that. Because respect is huge. That's what it's based on. And it was just, like at Walmart one day, I must have said excuse me to 7, 8 people. It was my first time at Walmart with Beck. And she said, you're gonna stop doing that real quick. And I said, stop doing what? She said, nobody does that anymore. And I did. I said, well, I'm gonna do it. Because if I'm gonna hold the door for somebody, if I'm gonna walk by someone, I gotta move, I'm gonna say, excuse me. And, you know, but now it still happens today. You got people that just, and they'll walk right into you. Or, you know, they see you coming behind them and they just let that door go. And, you know, every now and then I'll be back and I'm like, this motherfucker. But that's, you know, and that's as far as it goes because I'm not that dude anymore. But, and like with my job, there's a lot of ethics where I work, a lot. And HR is a big thing within our company. And I'm used to working for, I call companies in the real world because I work for Martin Marietta. And it's just, hey, HR is a big thing. You know, but I come from working at companies where, man, if you're not doing your job, you're done. There's no fairness, there's nothing wrong with it. Walk up and say, man, get your shit, you're gone. You know, that's it. Here, it's not how it works. You know, it's just, you have to deal with a lot of what I call bad, because it's just whether people not doing their job, they don't know how to do it, just, but they're so spooked on lawsuits or whatever. You know, and just the way society is now, everything's got to be gentle. And I will never be that guy. I'm always going to be respectful, but I'm always going to speak my mind. Always. I'm not going to alter who I am. I've turned my life around, and I will never return to that. But I live by a certain code, and I'm not going to conform, just can't do it. Because I believe the way I live is right. I'm not saying that everybody else lives wrong. I have strong beliefs in certain areas. But mine was people. And that's, when I say it's a problem today, it's just, sometimes I come home and I'm just, just because some people I just don't understand what a lot of people do nowadays. I just, I let it roll on, I just keep on doing me, and that's it. But that was really it. I don't have...
People on their phones must make you crazy.
It does. We went on to this with our kids, and God almighty, like games. I don't like games. And and she helped me see it, because my first couple years home, I said, man, we should just take every one of these things, throw them out the fucking window. I said, I'll break them up, I'll just hit them with a hammer. But okay, but then I have to understand that that's what the world is now. And like my son Junior, that's his generation. Now he's gotten better at it, but I can't be mad at him. I can't really be mad at anybody, because that's what's happened. They're doing what they think is right, because that's what the world is now. So I look at that a little bit better.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how was it with like the technological change? Because I'm sure a lot changed from the time you went in when you came out. Was it just like, was it just kind of interesting to see all this? What the fuck? Or
she got me my first cell phone. I wanted another pager. That's what I wanted. Because I thought it was.
Were you like looking for payphones too? Like, where are they?
Because I loved my payphones, but I loved the pager. It was great. You know what I mean? It was just. But she got me a little flip phone. Loved my flip phone. And then she got me. It took me a long time to learn it, and now I learn it. And hell, I get guilty sometimes too, especially if I'm home alone and my daughter's down for a nap. I catch myself on it, because it's what we're surrounded by now. It's what it is. I just try to teach my kids, keep it in check. It's not your only world. This isn't your lifeline. There's things outside this house. So that's all. But as far as jobs and going to a place and applying for a job, going into a place like this don't make me nervous. Going to a place applying for a job doesn't make me nervous. None of that held me back. I got lucky when I went to that temp service, because I got to work. They give you a ticket that day. You're going here, you're going here. Well, the first place they sent me was Rand Construction, and they kept me for 5 months, and they really looked out for me. And I got some good friends from that job. They offered me a full-time job, but their company rules wouldn't allow them to hire me. I could work for them through a temp service, but I couldn't be on the which is fine. Would I want to hire someone like me? Probably not. So I know I don't get offended by that. Some companies are afraid to say that, but why? Again, it's our society. I have no problem with someone coming to me and saying, man, you know what? I don't care what you've done with your life. I still think you're a piece of shit. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm cool with that. I'm okay. Here, I got a lot of victims out there. They could give a damn how good I'm doing because of what I put them through. And so that's why I can accept that. But as a society, we're afraid to voice that.
Did you ever reach out to any of your victims?
No. And I wouldn't, especially this last bit, because I rattled a couple broads pretty good. I know their names, I'll never forget their faces. And I spoke about this last time. I know one lady in particular. There was one of the banks I did it. I hit it twice in 10 days. And she was the same teller both times, but it rattled her. It fucked her up. And I know there's an interview out there with her somewhere. I haven't really tried to find it, but it was one of my friends when I was locked up said, hey, we saw this interview with so-and-so, and I'm like, really? And so it just fucked her up mentally. I don't know how long she worked at a bank, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with working at Walmart, but she worked at a bank for X amount of years. And by what I did, doing that, her being a teller both them times, it riled her so much. It ruined her marriage. She can't work in a bank, she works at Walmart now, because she has a real issue with men now. And so, what could I say to her? There's nothing I could say to her. And if I ever go somewhere and she goes, I'll know her. I don't care if it's 30 years from now, I would know her. I don't care where I'm at, so I'm going to put down whatever I have and I'm going to turn around and I'm gonna leave, because I'm not trying to bring her any more grief. If she tried to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to talk to her. But for me just to reach out and say, hey, this is my darling, I'd like to have a word with you. It's not gonna happen like that. Because I hurt her. I hurt her real tough.
Did you rob the banks in this under order of something that you're just like?
It was just me.
Do it.
It's never
You just
had nothing to do with the club. Never had nothing to do with the club.
So I was gonna say, have you ever like ran into people like during times when you commit crimes that like you kind of see them before they see you, and you just kind of like you're saying you just leave, like if you ran into like somebody like that you like what like you know might have like done something to one of the victims, do you just?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
I mean, the only, and this is not a good example, but it's an example because showing what I would do. My first time out, I ran into one of the guys that ratted on me. And so, yeah, I was on lunch. I walked in, it was a 7-Eleven. I'll never forget it. I'm standing there, I got a Slurpee. It's a summer day. And I could just feel someone just, because he's scared, you know, because I threatened him. But I looked over and there he was. I just put that Slurpee down, I booked. I went home. It wasn't Shelly, it was Keenan. I called her and I said, hey, I just ran into Brendan. I was a 7-Eleven, blah, blah. Now, he never called and said I said anything, but I wanted to make sure he didn't try to say, hey, man, he just threatened me, he did this. Nothing ever came of it, but I just went, called her, and that was the last time I seen him. Well, no, actually, that's a lie. Because we saw him, when I come home this time, he was at a concert we went to. And so, yeah. But I didn't say nothing to him. I didn't say, but I did, I'm standing there, I'm like, really, he's right here. But, you know, I try to tell myself, I try to teach myself, because when I use the term rat, you know, I'm not going to tell on nobody, but I try to look at it as people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. I had a dude named Dave Sierras. He was in the federal joint. He was a little mob guy. And he was talking to me before I came home. And I made a comment one day, I said, man, these fucking rats. And he said, hey, listen. He said, if you're at work and your wife or your kids are at home and someone's breaking the house, he said, what do you expect them to do? You know, I said, well, call the cops. He said the same thing. He said, these are citizens you're dealing with. He said, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Because that's what you should do. If someone's coming into your house, okay, you're supposed to pick up the phone, call 911. That's what they're there for. And that's what I tell my wife, that's what I tell the kids. Now, when I'm home, okay, I'm not going to call the cops. I'm just honest about it. I'm not going to. I'll call them after. But I'm just being honest because I'm going to protect my family. You know what I mean? I'm not going to call the cops. But they're doing what they're supposed to do. So really, if I were to really see him again and we really came head to head, you know, I'm just going to be like, you know, what's up? You know, I got to go. You know, because I had a buddy of mine. He's a real good friend of mine. I stole a car in high school. And I took it to the school, had a field day, and I got caught for it. But he was one of the kids that gave my name. And I knew this for years. And when I come home, me and the wife, you know, we were having hard times. Man, he sent me some money in the mail. Because he lived with me and my mom for a little while in high school because his family home was more fucked up than mine. And so after all these years, he just had to come to the house. And this was like 3 years ago. He said, I got to tell you something, man. And I did. I said, well, did you read me in 10th grade? And he froze. And I told him, I said, look, man, I said, you were just a kid. I said, you were like all the other kids up there. I said, you were doing what you were supposed to do. I said, you're scared. You got cops in front of you saying, man, who is that? Of course you're going to tell them. Because everybody did. Because everybody knew it was me in that car. You know? There probably wasn't a kid in that school that didn't say Mike Darlin. But I told him, I said, man, it's not a big deal. I said, you did what you were supposed to do. I said, you did the right thing. I said, I was the one fucking up. So, the whole rat thing, every now and then I still fight with it. But on the for real, I don't live that life anymore. So, to be out of a life, you have to step all the way out. Yeah. You know, if you're gonna walk out of anything, whether it's that life, drugs, anything, you have to step all the way out. My love and respect will always be there because I love them. You know, yeah, they're not altar boys, but it's the life I knew. Yeah. And so I have a couple, especially the ones that brought me in. I send them an email at Christmas time. But no, I don't go around anywhere where I don't go to no type of runs anymore. I go to a bar because it's not my life anymore.
Thank you very much.
You betcha. Thank you.
Look at these guys. So you know, at this time of day, when it's 12:15, they're already packing up and halfway out the door.
They're usually thought of that.
Still sitting there.
Cool.
I would take that as a high compliment.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you guys on Wednesday, unless it keeps snowing, I guess.
Good job, Daddy. I'm so proud of you.
What's up, everyone? Doing time with the darlings. So, really, we just left the college. It is like 1:25 right now. We hung out with the professor and Mike's parole officer, Shelly, for a little while. We all just kind of talked and hung out, so that was awesome. So, Daddy and I are going to go out to lunch. So, y'all are going to come with us to do that. Daddy did amazing. I'm going to have to edit quite a bit out, you guys, because it's just something we can't put public, so...
No, there's
yeah.
certain things about certain people, certain organizations. It's always a big question, a big talk. Everybody always wants to know certain things. And just for...
And he
there's
touched
just
base on it a lot today.
There's just some things I can't use publicly, just can't. Those of you who know the world or, I don't know, or street smart will understand. Some might be like, well, why can't you? It's not your life anymore. Because you just can't.
That's a big reason why, too. That answered it right there. It's not my life. I can't use it. But we hope you guys enjoy what we do put out, and the professor was awesome. He's going to hook us up with another professor at the college that does in the spring, and it's called American Gangster is what the class is about. So we're going to, Mike might not be able to record that one either, but we'll see. We will always include anything that we can to public, so you guys just know if we can, we will. If we can't, we don't.
But it was a great day.
It's cold here.
I'm always on a real natural high after I do these.
Of course.
Because I love it. I love going to talk. I love it. It's just what I was meant to do. It's just getting there. To the top. And it's coming.
But like anything else with hard work, you have to start at the bottom, and you have to work hard, and you have to pursue it and never give up.
So we're gonna go to Chuck Wagon. Best place ever if you're gonna eat in Colorado. They do breakfast and lunch. They don't do dinner.
Tiny little trailer.
It's very tiny. It's actually a historical monument now in Colorado. Very tiny. They used to have jukeboxes on the table. They don't have that anymore. But it's known for the big cowboy sign. But it's down on West Colfax. It's called Davy's Chuck Wagon. You Google it anywhere, it'll come up. If you ever come through Colorado, you open these parts, eat there. The steak and eggs, awesome. It's just
Everything.
It's just an awesome place to eat. They give you big portions. It's just good food, man. I've been going there since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Love it. Oops.
And I remember going there since I was 3 or 4 years old, so how funny. We're natives, so we grew up around it. Daughter texts back, oh my God, thank you.
Right now, I'm just on a natural high. I'm always like this. After I speak, I just enjoy it so much.
I told him, when you speak, like afterward, because it is a natural high, do you feel like, because obviously, like, you have endorphins that are releasing, and you know what I mean, but is it because you feel it, like, in your heart and your soul? And he does. This is it. This is what he wants to do. I told him he needs to have his M Diesel business, so Austin, his buddy Austin, needs to run M Diesel for him, and his days off, he can go mess around at the shop and help Austin mess around with the D9s and his D8, I'm gonna buy him, and all that good stuff. So. Awesome day so far, you guys. Awesome day.
Still a lot of snow everywhere. Kind of sucks the sun's out.
A lot.
But there's another storm blasting in tomorrow and Wednesday. So the good times are still gonna roll.
I don't know how good time Thursday's gonna be, freezing our asses off.
Thursday's gonna be a motherfucker.
Yeah.
but it's going to be like the Halloweens that we grew up with. There was never a Halloween I can remember as a kid that it did not snow.
Yes.
So really it's the way it should be. Just the last decade or so, Colorado kind of went through a...
And we're wimpy anymore. Colorado's wimpy when it comes to snow.
Yep.
You guys, junior school was on a 2-hour delay today, so his classes were going to start at 10:55. Well, my speech started at 11, so we called him in. He stayed home with sister and sister, so
Yep.
fine.
So we got a free day.
Yeah.
And a snowstorm like this would have never cut school when I was going.
This is nothing.
You went to school every day, and we walked. I'm not going to give you my parents' story of walking 10 miles in the snow.
Barefoot both ways.
No, but we walked to
Grandparents.
school every day. If it never mattered. Weather didn't alter your school days back
Usually you had like your moon boots
Yep.
and your heavy coat and your gloves and your hat, and you walked your ass to school.
then. Nowadays,
I don't see why kids can't.
I don't know. It's just the way the world is now. But it's okay, because Junior benefited from it. When we told him he got to stay home today, he was happy as hell. We have another wingnut on the corner back there.
I was gonna say,
I don't
damn, I
know.
missed it.
I don't know what the hell he's
He
doing.
holds like a
He's got a
spear
2x4 in his hand, screaming something.
and like half dancing, half praying with it, half we don't know.
Colfax in
See it
itself is a place to visit.
all. It is.
I mean, if
come
you
down-
want the good,
you gotta go east.
you go to East
Colfax.
Colfax. But even up here on West Colfax, you still get some good times.
We're gonna turn this off for a little bit.
Bye.
You guys look at this.
You want to try some of this waffle?
No, it does look bomb though. And you know me, I don't like waffles.
I've been wanting a waffle and not an
You
Eggo.
guys.
Not an egg.
Come right here. Hey, Daddy. And Mommy. And the jukebox.
The jukeboxes are back.
Oh, the jukebox. Awesome. Here, you guys. We're about to leave.
We grubbed.
So you guys, this is David's truck wagon. This is the van, so that's what it is. So the truck wagon diner. You guys come check it out. It rocks.